Okay, yeah. Thanks, Jen, for agreeing to make this video. I'm excited to hear your thoughts, unfiltered, on camera. It's been great working with you, but yeah, I'm excited. Are you excited?
Yes, I am excited.
Great. So yeah, first off, and yeah, again, the purpose of this video is just to share with other people who are looking at potentially hiring a coach who might be interested in working with me, or just hiring a coach in general, what it was like, what it was like before working with me, what the actual experience of working with a coach with me was like, and then afterwards, like what are the benefits looking back? So kind of what would you be telling yourself, before we started working together? So the first question is like, before we started working together, what kind of challenges or problems were you facing?
I think my main problem was I just think I had a real lack of clarity. I think that whenever I had whenever I was sort of thinking about the future or trying to set goals or move forward on certain things, I would just get really kind of stuck in my own head about things. And yeah, it was really hard for me to just sort of figure out what steps to take, like I would just sort of go kind of around in a circle where I would have the same sort of recurring like thoughts and beliefs and patterns, and I just didn't really know how to get out of those things. So just kind of would go spinning around and around in the same way and not really feel like I was able to make a change. So that's a big one for me. The idea that just trying to get out of my own head, I think, to get things done. And having, the problem was that I didn't have anyone else looking in there to help me pick it all apart. Like when I see it myself, like I can't see the patterns the same way. So that was a big problem for me. It's just that I was in my own head, but I wasn't even really aware of what was going on in there. So it was very challenging to kind of feel like I was making progress on a lot of fronts.
Mm. And I should have prefaced with this too, but and let's just add some context. So maybe you could just tell everyone, what were you trying to achieve? Like, you're a business owner, like maybe just add in a little bit about who you are and what you were trying to achieve at the time. What was most important to you?
So I'm a personal trainer, and I have I have my own gym now, but I'll tell you about that later. Um, so I was renting space at a gym and training clients, and that's been great. I've been pretty successful with that, but yeah, I just had I sort of felt stuck in that. I think that I didn't really know how to improve that business. I was working really long hours, and I was that person who I would work like 14-hour days just because that's when people needed me. Like I didn't have a lot of boundaries, and I didn't have a lot of time or energy for any kind of personal growth. And I just sort of felt like, well, if I want to grow or change my business at all, then I just have to work more hours. And so the idea that, I could conceivably, have time for a life, have time for my business, do level up in my business, and not lose my mind in the process was just sort of alien to me. I think it was really difficult for me to see how I might do that. I think that was a big problem for me. Yeah, just that idea of, well, if I'm the face of my business, how do I improve that without spreading myself too thin?
Mm. Awesome. Got that. And it's so cool to go through this, like from where we are now to go through this stuff. But okay, so when you were thinking about working with me, where was your head at? Like, what were maybe some of your hesitations, but what ultimately made the difference for you saying, okay, let's do it. Let's work together.
Well, I mean, first of all, I should say that I have a terrible memory. So this is hilarious to think about, like, oh my God, where was I at when we started this whole thing? Because it's been a while. Um,
How long's it been? How long's it been?
I have no idea.
We started together because we had that initial conversation that would have been like end of November. I think we started January 1st, maybe.
That's right. That's right. I was thinking it was late fall, but we didn't actually start until the very beginning of the year. I think we had a couple sort of introductory conversations, and then we were like, all right, let's just live through December and start January 1st. That's right. So, yeah. Um, Now I forget your original question. Oh, yeah. What was the deciding factor? Well, I mean, it was honestly, to be truthful, I'm pretty sure it was probably just that, at least in part, that idea of like giving myself a fresh start in the new year, that was just like a sort of a natural timing thing. And I think that initially I felt hesitant because, and I've told you this before, that like, I was like, what's this young whippersnapper going to tell me that I don't already know? Um, so yeah, but I was also really curious because, some of the things we had talked about prior to really working together, I just felt like, you were a very thoughtful listener, and you seem to really sort of understand where I was coming from. And at that point in time, like I've had therapists and different kinds of personal growthy things over the years, but at that time I wasn't really working with anyone in that capacity. And I remember thinking, well, maybe this is something that's um, a bit more focused, a bit more task oriented. Maybe the answer right now isn't to spend more time talking about my feelings. Maybe the answer is to, just get focused on what I actually want, and, move forward, as opposed to like kind of trying to dismantle or examine the past. It just sort of felt like a different approach, a different energy that felt promising. I think that was really what helped. And yeah, just the idea that, just that you and I had these conversations, and it was like, nah, I think Josh gets where I'm coming from, and that was reassuring. I think the fact that we both sort of, we share this goal of, creating these businesses, right? And we're in many ways we're both kind of one man operations, right? So I knew that you would understand that side of things for me. And then, because we shared all the interest in like health and fitness and nutrition and all those things, like I was like, okay, he's also going to understand like that side of it, even though that wasn't necessarily what I needed to or wanted to address at the time. It was like, but that's a factor, right? And you got that part as well. So I think all those things kind of combined to make that decision for me.
Awesome. Yeah, it's back a trip down memory lane, and to look at it with new information is super cool. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we had just those great first conversations, and I saw that you were working so hard, and I just saw that from my perspective, this opportunity to do less but more directed work that was higher priority items. And yeah, I just a little bit of a second look on the stuff that you're doing. And I knew you'd be even more successful with that in your health and your business. Awesome. So, okay, so flipping gears a little bit into like after you decided to pull the trigger and make that investment, how would you describe like actually working with me, like the day to day, the kind of stuff we're doing? Like what was that experience like for you?
It was really good. I really enjoyed our calls, and I looked forward to them. And yeah, I would get off a call every week and feel really positive and optimistic about yeah, just like a good feeling, first of all, which is nice. And I would always come away with like something actionable. I would be pretty clear on like there was always like one or two like tasks or action items that I could do that felt pretty doable. You know, they weren't overwhelming. And then there was always something that we talked about, like one thing that you said, or just some little tidbit, right, that would like stick with me, you know, sort of a, you know, that I'd kind of carry around like a little affirmation, or I'd, you know, write down somewhere. And so, yeah, I found that process just really enjoyable and not overwhelming. And I think that's important, because I have definitely worked with professionals in a lot of different fields, you know, people who've tried to help me manage my money, or, you know, different kinds of coaches and stuff. And yeah, it's very easy with those people, because they're passionate about their subject, for them to like dump so much information on you that you get overwhelmed. And I never felt like that with you. Like, I felt like, if anything, we were taking things away, which is, we'll talk about that later. That's hard for me. So yeah, it really felt, yeah, it felt good. It was something I looked forward to. It was positive. And then each week, what was really interesting, I think, is that each week built upon the last. So like, you got really, really good at like hearing sort of my old patterns and stumbling blocks, you know, coming up time and time again. And you would, I don't hear them when I say them, but you would hear them. And I'd be like, oh shit, there's Josh again, coming in and reminding me that I am not my thoughts. So yeah, the combination of like, just like a nice conversation and a good time, and then like actionable items, and you know, feeling really positive. And yeah, that sort of sense of, oh yeah, I can't I can't lie to you. So yeah, it became something that it really, each week there was more good stuff, because we got to know each other better. And you were very good at like seeing my patterns and picking up on them, even when I didn't. So that's been really interesting. Yeah. And now I'm at the point where I can start to catch them in myself, which is amazing and helpful.
Totally. It's crazy too to see from my end, just like to seeing you leveling up in these areas, kind of like you're just describing, getting better at seeing your own patterns. And, you know, even if there's elements of the old patterns that are still there, it's at a different capacity. It's not like, you know, it was really refreshing for me to see just like the continuous progress, and like obstacles that were a big deal 2 weeks ago or not a big deal anymore, and you're taking on bigger obstacles. So that was really cool for me. And one thing that I just maybe wanted to touch on a little bit too is, like, I don't want people to think that, you know, hiring a coach means like, you know, you just offload all your responsibility onto a coach. They tell you what to do. And like, you know, there's still challenges, and there's still like, you are doing the work. So I'd love to just hear from you in like one or two points. Like, what was the most challenging part about working with me? Like, I want people to see that honest side too, that it's not just a walk in the park, it's not a breeze. So doing the work that we were doing together, maybe quickly, like if you could describe it in one sentence, like really succinctly, what the work that we were doing, and then two, what the biggest maybe challenge was for you in that.
It's very hard for me to describe the work that we were doing in one sentence. I guess in a nutshell, like the work that we've been doing is like about establishing and re-establishing patterns that will help me grow. And choosing those, like figuring those out with you, but on my own, making the decision about what's important and what I want to work on, and how I do that, which is also the challenge. Yeah, so it's like the challenging part is, you know, for me, having to cut away things and having to decide about what's actually important versus what seems important because it's loud and shiny. having to like sit down with myself and like focus and establish those routines and stick to them. Um, it continues to be challenging, like, and to be able to be like, to recognize that like every single week I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to not do some stuff. I'm not going to get, 7 check marks on every single thing all the way across the week. It's probably not going to happen. And to not beat myself up about that like that is part of the process, is like, taking these steps forward. Some stuff works, some stuff doesn't. You find out, you reflect, you reassess those things, you evaluate them, and then you decide, what's working, what's not. And so it is this process of like shifting and sorting, and that's happening, ideally a little bit every day, a little bit every week. And you get to refine that stuff for yourself. But it's really hard because there is that part of me that's like, just tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. But of course it doesn't work like that. You guide me to the places where I need to make those decisions, but then that the implementation is up to me. So for anyone who's looking for just like a one size fits all, fill out this worksheet and, you're done. It's not that.
Totally not. And from my end too, trust me, there is a lot of, oh, this would be so much easier if I could just tell them what to do in this, but it doesn't work that way. And it's not about so much, in my experience, it's not so much about focusing so much on the result and getting that result. It's more so just learning to enjoy that process and those uncomfortable conversations, those failures, revisiting them, and then weirdly the results just seem to happen then when you want it, but it's not like your main focus. We'll get more into that, but I wanted to add that probably most people watching this video, if there's somebody who hasn't had a coach before, they're like on the fence about a coach, they're probably hearing, wait, so you didn't get all 7 things done every day. It's okay if you didn't do them. Wait, how does anything ever get done? How do you make any progress? So let's allay those fears. Let's get into the next part. Let's talk about results. Let's talk about, Jenn from January 1st to now, which is August, end of August. So, I mean, it's pretty much 8 months. What are the results? Like, I mean, how are you feeling compared to then? But also, like, what are the tangibles? What's been going on with your business and stuff like that?
Well, it's been, wow, we picked a wild year to work together, didn't we?
Sure did.
I think that I can honestly say that, like, if I did not have this relationship going on, I'm not sure how I would have done, because we were off to a roaring start in January and February, and I was feeling really good about our progress. And my plan then was to, maybe offer like a online product at some point in the upcoming months, and I think, thinking about revising my schedule and just changing the way I did business a little bit was on the menu. And of course, then, March hit and suddenly everything changed, whether I had any hand in it or not. So
COVID, just for those watching, maybe are included.
Yes. If you're, hi, people in 2026, remember the global pandemic? So yeah, suddenly I went from working in the gym that I was renting space at, it closed down, and I was suddenly training, the bulk of my clients online in like a little room downstairs. And it was just very different. And I think that it would have been really easy to give up or get really feel really down about that. And I remember that when I first started training people online, like, that was a huge adjustment and it was really challenging. And I think that, being able to check in with you and focus on, well, this isn't going to last forever. What are we doing right now to think about the future? And it really helped me day to day work with my clients and remember that, like, regardless of what the circumstances were around it, that I was still the same trainer and I was still providing the same kind of service. Um, yeah, and that, you know, on the other side of this, there were a lot of opportunities, you know, and that framing things as like an opportunity to like learn new skills and grow and adapt and, you know, be present through all of that was huge. And it got me more clients, you know, like I'm at the point now where like strangers are calling me. I'm like, how did you get this number? Yeah, and I got to work in such a way that I got to see what it feels like to not work 14-hour days, you know, to be able to suddenly completely change my schedule, which is something I really struggled with. I was like, I can't say no to people. I have to work with people when they want to work with me. And suddenly I was like, yeah, I'm online Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And that's when I'm online. And if you can't show up those 3 days a week, well, sorry. And not in a mean way, just like those are my online training days. So that was huge. And that's something that, you know, I think going forward, and I have lots of good news to tell everyone about that, but you know, in the fall and beyond now, looking forward, you know, to be a lot more boundaried about my time and my availability. I see that as something that a successful person does. Like, you know, successful people are in demand. And that is me. I am successful and I am in demand. And my time to work with me is not unlimited. These are the slots. When they're full, there's no more time. I'm not adding time just to like accommodate someone. I'm firing people. You know, I'm in the process right now of like letting a bunch of people go because I'm like, I'm sorry, you're just, you know, you don't show up sometimes and our values don't really align and you're lovely and great, but like I release you with love. Like, here's your money back. Because I got people I'm turning away. I got strangers phoning me.
Amazing. So, yeah, and it's so cool. To put that in the context of COVID too. That's something I hadn't actually considered that way too. Is, you know, not just the trajectory that you had, but like what would that trajectory have been with COVID? You know, and there's a lot of businesses that shut down during that time for sure. So, I think the struggles like that you're talking about, just yeah, probably reality for a lot of business owners. If we're just going to summarize, so, you know, some of the exciting things that are going on now, overall, just like if we were to put this in terms of tangible results with the business, like, you know, what kind of growth do you think you've experienced, or you know, working hours, how much less time are you working to get those results? Like income wise, is it like increase, decrease, stay the same? What kind of increase? Maybe like, are there any tangibles that you can share so that someone else who maybe doesn't know your business exactly could say, oh, okay, wow, that's what happened for her?
Yeah, so I was renting space at a gym that I started at 2 years ago in 2018, and so you know, the second half of 2018 was okay. I was just kind of getting set up in the new space and getting some new clients, and then 2019, you know, because I've been in this business for 9 years now, and in 2019 I had an increase. My income went up 230%. So I had a good year. And that was very exciting. And then so at the beginning of 2020, I was like, Josh, I want to do it again. Like I want to, you know, let's have like another 200% year. I'm on track to do it. And then, you know, 2 months later, I was like, oh no, no, I'm not. But I can tell you that it'll be interesting to see what the next couple months holds, because from March to August, I have done just fine. I was able to keep, you know, about 2/3 of my current client base online, some of whom had to, you know, adapt their payment model a little bit. Other people were able to continue in exactly the same way we had been going. I wasn't paying rent. So that is a nice offset of expenses. And I've continued to get new clients throughout that time, especially over the last, like, I'd say 2 or 3 months. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what the rest of this year holds, because yeah, I think I might not be on track to get a 200% year, but the year is not over yet. And so the opportunities are there. And then of course the big tangible is that the gym I was renting space from closed down. And so I made the decision, because it's a great space and I love it, and all my stuff was already in there and the price was right, that I took over the lease. So I'm opening up in a very low key, low stakes kind of way in September. So I'll be doing kind of a hybrid of training some people online still, and then taking private clients, in the physical space itself, because we're still allowed to do that. And about half of my people have said, yeah, I'm ready to come back. So it's going to be really exciting to have that home base again. And now it's all mine. I joined this gym renting from two guys, and then one of them left a year in, and now the other one's gone. And so I guess I'm just destined to do this on my own. I'm the last woman standing. Yeah, and I'm really excited. And then in the new year, or maybe later this year, I'll be renting space to other trainers that I'll be hand selecting. So
Amazing.
now I own my own business again.
Yeah. And so initially setting that ambitious trajectory, double your results again, COVID hit, possible trajectory, crash and burn. But instead, it sounds like from what you're saying, you've got that trajectory now headed back towards the right direction. And you've got clients calling you left, right, and center, too many clients to know what to do with. You're literally going to have to start outsourcing some of those clients in this gym space that you've purchased. You're now a gym owner. And so in a time when you could have been regressing, giving up, changing strategy, you're taking on more. You've gone bigger. And I think that could be, I don't want to take away, those are a lot of scary moves. And I think, yeah, I'm thrilled to hear that things are going so well. It was amazing to just be a part of it. And as you grow, sweet. So last up, what is the main reason that you would recommend working with me? So for someone who's in the position of Jen in December of 2019, someone who's, most of my clients are probably looking for specifically health coaching. So what we're doing, but with the goal of improving their health, lowering their body fat, feeling more energized, feeling better on a health perspective. And we did a little bit of that, but we focused more so on your biggest source of stress, which was the business. But just generally speaking, for these people who are looking to either get a better handle on their business and their stress, or improve their health, what's the number one thing what's the number one reason you would recommend me as a coach? Like what's a good way they could see if they're a good fit or not?
Well, I think that's a interesting, because I work with people in health and fitness, and we were just saying earlier about how, like, you don't have a one size fits all kind of programming idea here. And I think that when I think about the people who've come to see me over the years, and what people are looking for, there are those people who are, it's like the meal plan thing, right? Like, oh God, just tell me what to eat. Just tell me what to eat and I'll eat it. And you and I both know that is not a sustainable way to teach people to make, like, real change in their lives, right? Anybody can write a meal plan, anybody can follow a meal plan for a certain amount of time, but you're not actually learning anything there. So I think, yeah, from a health and fitness perspective, it's really amazing to have someone in your corner who, has all the sort of, technical know-how, but also just can really, like, listen to you and help you figure out what your stumbling blocks are. Because, you know, uh, regardless of whether it's, your nutrition or your exercise or your stress or what it is, you're probably like me in that you don't know sometimes even what your own stumbling blocks are, your own patterns are, the way you think about things, and how those thoughts can hold you back. I think we all have something in our lives that we need help seeing what those things are, and we need help kind of taking it apart enough to like not put it back together again, but see what's inside there and then move forward from there. Yeah, and I think that's really what working with you is all about. It's about being a person who's, you know, committed, even if you don't know the how, right? Even if you don't know how you're going to get there or what you're going to do, it might even seem like almost impossible, but you know that you want something. If you know what you want and you know why you want it, and you help people figure that part out too. But once you know what you want and why you want it, then everything else is not actually that hard. Like you can figure out the how, and that's what the coaching I think is really about. It's about refining what it is that you want and why you want it, and that's a little bit of like action and digging, and you help us do that. And then, you know, then the day to day is the how, and you know, those little check marks, and accepting your imperfections, accepting that you're going to try some stuff and it's not going to work and other stuff's going to work great, but like every single week you're going to learn something about yourself, about what works, what doesn't, and you're going to get closer. And then you're going to be like me, like 8 months down the road, and be like, I don't really remember what life was like before. God, what was my problem before we started working together? So it's yeah, you start to you start to have success, and you start to change the way you think, and then it seems like if you go back and think about where you were, you're like, oh really, was I like that? That seems weird. I don't remember really being like that, but here I am now. So maybe people have a better memory than me, but I'm like, who was that confused young woman?
I think probably a lot of people are experiencing that in their own way. I know a few people that have amazing memories that seem to be able to record all that stuff, but very, very, very few. um, that's awesome. And again, it was so fun to do this, but before we wrap up the video, is there anything else that you wanted to add? Any like, you know, any other nice features of working with me, or, you know, any other challenges that came up? You know, most people in my experience who are thinking about getting a coach, I know for me, my biggest objection before I started working with a coach was, I don't need a coach. Why? I don't need someone to get done what I'm going to do. And for me, the change was, well, I actually still don't think I need a coach, but if you put it in the context of the things I want to achieve and the way I want to push myself and continuously go outside my comfort zone, then I do need someone to keep me accountable. Then I do need someone to keep pushing me. But I don't need a coach to make it. I don't need a coach to be successful. But if I want to be that successful, then I do. So I'm curious for you if there's any like extra bonuses that you had working with me, like any other interesting finds or challenges, or just anything really that you wanted to add before we wrap this up.
I think the thing that has been the most interesting, and this is true. I mean, even, you know, when we started talking first thing this morning, is this idea of getting comfortable being uncomfortable is like, you know, kind of my life's work now. And so and so, you know, there are days where I'm like, oh, I hate this. Or I'm like, I'm real. I don't like, I've never done this before and I don't like it. And it doesn't feel great. And I'm scared. And then now I just like think of you and you're like, yes, awesome. Being uncomfortable is great.
I guess I am that cheesy.
But you know, it's, I guess that's been a real shift for me, is that like, it, and I don't mean to say that like, you know, you have to walk around being like stressed out or unhappy. That's like your response that you're choosing to discomfort, Jen. But it's that idea of like, if you're consistently like stepping outside of where you've been, yeah, you should really anticipate and welcome a little bit of discomfort, because the alternative is to be back in comfort land where nothing was changing and you were unhappy there. And so when we move into discomfort, I think initially we're like, oh, no, I don't want it. It's unknown and it's weird. I'd rather be back comfortable. But then we have to remember that where we were and we were comfortable was not, we didn't want to be there. So you don't get to have it both ways. You get to step outside the comfort zone a little, be uncomfortable, get okay with that, and then that gets a little more comfortable, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll relax here for 5 minutes, and then Josh will make me take another step into being uncomfortable again. But that's good, right? So like, even when I am feeling like prickly or a little overwhelmed, or I want to like slide back, or I beat myself up, it's like, oh, right, this is why I'm doing this. You know, I recognize this feeling now, and I know what this feeling means. And it's so easy week to week and month to month to feel like, I'm going nowhere. I'm just uncomfortable all the time. And then to look back, and you know, you would always do this with me, be like, remember like 6 weeks ago when like this seemed impossible and now you just live here? And I was always like, oh, right, yes. So it is good to have enough of a memory to reflect on where you started. But get comfortable being uncomfortable, but it's a good kind of uncomfortable. It's the uncomfortable that makes it, that the uncomfortableness is the how you get to where you want to go. So yeah, Josh will push you to be a little bit uncomfortable, and you'll fight him, but yeah, ultimately you'll win, but in the right way.
I'm still alive. Still alive. Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks so much, Jen. Yeah, from personal trainer to gym owner slash business owner, from doing well to pretty much turning down clients because you have so many people calling you for your business, all through COVID. Definitely not a small feat. Thanks so much for sharing this and creating this video. I hope that for other people out there who'd be a good fit for coaching, this helps show them a little bit more about what it'd be like. Yeah, I'm really excited for this new program and to be able to share it. Awesome, Jen. Have a great week, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Josh.